moving to the pig industry. The Sterling Pork Profit Tracker reported farrow to finish producers recorded a positive margin of just under $22 a head last week. That's down $5.74 from the previous week and only half of what it was a month ago. In spring and even early summer, a high number of planted corn and soybean acres open the possibility that feeders might get a break on feed costs. But as we mentioned when talking with Duane Reese in the Animal Science Building here on East Campus Wednesday, things now aren't nearly as bright.
Clearly not. In fact, just in June, corn was $4 a bushel. Now it's about $8. Soybean meal, producers were pricing that in about $3.75 a ton. Now we're looking at $5.50. So those are huge differences in the price in just a few weeks.
How much shift does that put on the individual pig? If you're feeding out, how much impact can that have?
Yeah, well, if you're a fair to finish producer, it's going to add $25, $30 in production costs per pig. And so break-evens have substantially jumped, and the market has not responded all that well to cover those. So it leaves pork producers in a lurch.
And one of the things that we're looking at today as an alternative is trying to find some change up maybe in a feed diet that would ease costs a bit. And we can look at it from corn and soybean meal both. Let's start with corn. Is there any alternative to corn that would ease cost?
Well, here's DGGS again. We've talked about DGGS before. A lot of producers are using it. Unfortunately, the price of DGGS relative to corn is about 105, 110%, which is the highest it's been in 2-3 years. So, even DGGS is not looking all that favorable to come into the diet. That doesn't mean it's not economical. It's just not near as economical as it used to be to put in the diet.
Maybe internationally more so, but feed wheat is starting to play more of a role probably. Is there any role that it can have in the hog diet?
Sure, and a lot of it depends on your proximity to where the wheat is. Wheat does come in the diet, has come in the diet for a few people. That's very key, very few people. Certainly not compared to DGGS. DGGS would be much more utilized or widely utilized than wheat. Wheat works great in swine diets. Get the diets formulated correctly, performance will be maintained, and if you get it bought right relative to corn, then it'll lower the cost of the diet.
Let's look at soybean meal. What can be done there, because we might have supply issues there as well?
Well, we're going to need to rely on crystalline forms of amino acids. We've done that before, and what's different this time is we're looking at a fourth crystalline form of amino acid that hasn't been used all that much previously in swine diets because, its cost relative to that from soybean meal has not been favorable. What I'm talking about is tryptophan. Tryptophan hasn't been used all that much in pig diets for the reasons I just mentioned. So we'd be looking at bringing in lysine, threonine, methionine, and then this fourth one, tryptophan.
How much can that throw the diet off in terms of what you're trying to get overall? I mean, do you need to work with a nutritionist to make sure you're keeping track of what you're putting in here?
Yeah, when you're working with these crystalline forms of amino acids, you're working with very minute amounts of those in the feed, and they're critical for growth, reproduction, feed efficiency. So the amount of those that's in the diet has to be well thought out and well
very
done.
Deliberate.
Very deliberate.
Right.
Because if you don't get those in the diet in the correct proportions, or you don't have the proper balance of those amino acids in the diet, then pig performance won't be as you expect. So instead of driving down feed costs and maintaining pig performance, you could be driving down feed costs and also driving down performance, and you may not be ahead at all.
Let's quickly look at what you can do once the feed is in the bin. What can you do to make sure you're being as efficient as possible with that animal?
First and foremost, we want to start with feed particle size. We want the particle size of the feed be 600, 700 microns on average. That's because if we get the particle size down far enough, then the enzymes that's in the digestive tract can go in and extract the nutrients out of the grain before they get into the lower or the upper part of the lower part of the small intestine, large intestine, and then go out as manure.
As far as slaughter weights, is there anything to keep in mind, maybe pushing it through a little quicker?
Clearly, we want to be watching our market weights because it's clear that pigs deposit more fat as they approach maturity. And it takes a lot of energy to produce fat. So we want to be very careful, very current on our marketings and not produce excess fat.